Welcome, Raleigh. This is Pastor Shirley Johnson with Word of God Fellowship Church, and we are here for our panel discussion, Mind Matters, Nurturing Mental Health in Sports. We are so excited about this. We have been building up to this very moment, so it is finally here. We are welcoming you to join in, to share with your friends and families. We may have other people in our lives who are struggling, who are athletes, and they just don't know that they have resources and hope. And so we want to be that source, that lifeline today. I'm going to introduce our moderator, and he will take it from there. We are blessed today to have with us Mr. Trayvon Miles with ABC, and he will take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody tuning in here today. I first like to give a shout out and a thank you to Dr. Royster for inviting me to this illustrious panel of all people in athletics. And I think there's a strong message in what we put out today. So first, I want to introduce everybody up here on the stage. To my left, first of all, Mr. Byron K. Williams, head coach of Word of God national team. He was the associate head coach at Shaw, and he also coached Isaiah Todd in the G League. He's got 5 Division I players being recruited, 3rd place last year in the OTE championships. Congratulations, Coach. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, sir.
All right, to his left, Mr. Zion Collins, one of his players, current player on the Word of God national team. Thank you for joining us, Zion. To his left, an NC State legend, Ms. Kiera Leslie, former Washington Mystics player. Thank you so much for joining. To my right, we have Mr. Jason Coleman, or as he likes to go by, Coach J. That's what he told me. He's the owner of 3D Basketball, former Shaw U athlete, and he currently coaches AAU basketball and is a community pillar here in the state of North Carolina. To his right, we have Miss Jasmine Roberson. She's a Wake Tech volleyball player. Thank you so much for joining us. To her right, we have another Jasmine Coleman. She is a licensed clinical social worker and the co-owner of Headstrong. So I believe you have a really strong message to deliver to us today. And last but not least, to her right, a Wake Forest and a North Carolina legend, Mr. Brandon Childress. Thank you all so much for being here today. I think we have an enlightening story to tell just up here by the amount of knowledge and amount of people that we have up here this afternoon. I want to start with you, Coach. As the head coach of the national team, what are some key strategies that you implement to lead a team to success? Because not only do you have to have success on the court, you also have to have success off the court, and I think that leads to on-court success.
I really just try to get my guys to stay focused on where they're trying to go ahead. Majority of my kids are the best kids on their local high school team. And, you know, I have to get them together and teach them how to play together and get them prepared for college. It's been pretty easy because we look just like what it's going to look like in college. You know, I got a bunch of friends within the community that we all put in to help the kids, from Jay Coleman to numerous of people. But the bottom line, key strategies is really just getting these kids prepared for where they're going.
You lead me to my next question. Coach Jay Coleman, being a former athlete at Shaw, now training kids, I know it takes a lot more than just the physical work. And what we're here is the mental work. How important is that mental work that you have to do with your clients?
I usually typically say, especially in sports, high level, 80% of it is mental. You'll get to a level, especially at the highest level, where everybody is good, everybody runs fast, jumps high, is pretty skilled. So what separates the superstars from the all-stars, from the guys that's just role players is a lot of it is mentality, mental toughness, how you respond to adversity. That's a big thing, not only just in skill development that I do on the court, but a lot of parents, athletes come for the mental toughness that goes on in the gym when we're in there, because again, I do feel like it's somewhat more, like I said, at the highest level than you just being able to shoot, pass, or jump.
Absolutely. My next couple questions are going to be geared to the folks who have done it at the highest level and have played overseas. First of all, Kiera, an impressive basketball journey from you, from NC State to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, then to overseas. I guess, how do you manage the transition, going from one place to another and then to another, and just every single year, possibly, being in a different place?
I think everywhere you go is just a new adjustment. I know in the league, you're playing with the best players in the world, so your job is a little bit easier. You just have to just play your role and, just be a good team player, a good locker room player. Whereas overseas, you have a lot more responsibility on your back as an American. So, we have to basically take over, know that the team's on our back, and we have to lead the team to success if we want to keep getting good jobs overseas.
Yeah, and Brandon, playing basketball professionally obviously requires physical skills, but it also requires some serious mental resilience. How do you address, when setbacks come and when different things happen? Is there strategies you use to kind of keep a mindset, a positive mindset, and just stay motivated and stay after it?
Everybody's different. So for me, I'm real family oriented. So I try to do the very best I can to put great people around me who genuinely support me, who love me and care for me. And that way, when it's time for me to express myself, what's going through my mind mentally and especially internally, because I know a lot of times when we have setbacks, you doubt yourself, you question a lot of things that you go through. And I feel like when you have a strong circle and people around you who genuinely support you and love you, care for you, they'll tell you the right things, and you're able to, express your feelings and get everything that you're going through out.
That's real. All right, I'm moving to Mr. Zion Collins. As a member of the Word of God national team, I'm sure there are some key qualities that need to be had. You probably had to grow up really quick. What are some of the things you leaned and depended on to kind of make this transition happen for yourself?
I think at the beginning of the season, I was angry with Coach B because I wasn't really playing a lot, but I just stayed patient, just listened to Coach, everybody around me, and I started earning more time till I started starting. So just stay patient.
Coach B he let it out right here. He was a little angry.
You got it out of him.
Okay, absolutely. That's what it's all about, is moving on. All right, Jasmine, Miss Robertson, tell me a little bit about your journey. I know you played volleyball for Wake Tech. What was the transition like for you going from high school athlete and then playing in college?
Honestly, I think that the transition was really easy because the level of commitment isn't that much greater. You go from 2-hour practices to 4-hour practices, but that doesn't seem like that much to me. But honestly, it seems like so much better because high school, there's so much more drama and competition, and college now, we all appreciate each other a lot more, and we don't feel like we have to be at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah, drama in high school, imagine that, right? All right, Coach, I want to move back to you. Through your the various experiences you've had in coaching, whether it be here, whether it be at Shaw, all of it's been mentoring the youth.
Absolutely.
So how do you approach player development, and what are some of the key factors that you consider, not only when you are training, but when you're also recruiting? Because I think that's important too, is getting the right guys.
Absolutely. The truth be told, I take them as they come. We definitely looking for talent. But with me having a mental health background, I like to meet the kids where they at. I'm not in the business of selecting the perfect kid, because they're kids. But we do look for talent and kids who can, Word of God can be a springboard to where they're going. And so I'm not really selecting. I start with talent, and can I help that kid personally? Reach his goals.
That's an amazing message. All right, Coach Jay, you've done some AAU coaching and doing training right now. What are some of the key challenges you face with some young basketball players and preparing them for higher levels of competition?
More times than not, honestly, is especially when they're younger, and even when they're in high school, more times than not, is Not necessarily the players. It's the parents. It's the parents.
I'm with you.
That you do. Of course, you educate the players, but you educating the parents more so than the player of just what to expect. Even parents that did play is different. The landscape is totally different from even when I was in college, which seems years ago. So like just educating parents on what to expect, realistic expectations. I get it's your baby, but they're going against millions of other kids vying for limited spots. At every level you go higher, the spots decrease. And so it's just kind of tapering their expectations. Just let them know what to expect. And sometimes it's tough because we all want the best for ours. And with it being levels and competition and those things, everybody wants the best for their kids. So sometimes it's a tough conversation, but I try to lean on more honesty instead of sugarcoating, because they're gonna get the sugarcoating from their parents and their supporters. So if you be honest, they may not like it at first, but they'll respect that. And more than, there's plenty of people that's telling you stuff you want to hear or selling you a dream, but I just try to lead and do everything that I do with integrity and honesty.
Yeah, I think that's important, but how do you balance the importance of skill development, to fostering kind of like positive team culture and team relationships?
I think, a big slogan of mine is, we working. So I think work ethic is always going to be at the forefront of everything you're doing, not just on the court, but even in life. There's days when, I try to tell them their parents or whoever they're involved with, there's days they don't want to wake up and get there, but they got to get there. So the days that you do it when you don't want to are the days that you get better. Everybody's good when it feels good, and I want to get up and I want to go play pickup or whatever. But what about those days when you don't feel good, you sore, you had a long week, and things are not working out for you on the court, like Zion was just said. Like, I'm not starting, but I feel like I should be. I come from somewhere where I'm the best, and you're coming into a situation where everybody's good, and you still have to find a way to contribute. It may not be in as big as a role that you want, and especially with the Word of God team being around for the last 2-3 years, there's plenty of guys that you just have to wait your turn.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to tell a kid that's got multiple offers and is topping his class, but he's a sophomore, and we got seniors that we got to take care of first. But you still want to win. You still want to be out there, and I could be somewhere else playing the whole game. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, Kiera, getting to where you got obviously required and still requires a lot of hard work. What is something that you would share to up-and-coming basketball players about mindset, not necessarily the physical skills, but just the mindset that you need to have to make it to where you want to go?
I guess throughout my journey and dealing with different things, I kind of came up with this thing, and I always tell myself never let anybody tell me who I can't be. And like going through life and experiences and injuries, people always tell you, oh, she's not going to come back the same, or she's not going to be able to adapt, or this person's better, that person's better. So I think just stay in the course and working hard towards what you really want to be.
Yeah, that's a great message. All right, Chill. So, transitioning between different basketball leagues, different countries, obviously presents different challenges, the same way I asked Kiera before. Can you share any memorable stories or anything, any experiences, whether it be culturally or logistically, that you've had to kind of make change and make do while pursuing your professional career?
I can talk about this scar on my knee right here. It was the semifinals of the playoffs in 2021 when I was in Estonia. That was my rookie year, and it's when I actually first met Jay. And that year right there was an eye-opener. I went to Greece. I got cut in Greece, and it had nothing to do with basketball. It was because I was a rookie and they wanted, more veteran guys on the team. So, and I found out on Twitter that I was cut. I didn't find out that I was removed from the team through, everyone from the front office. I come home, started working out with Jay, trying to, get my confidence back up because it's a rookie year. You thinking, I'm coming from Wake after the season I had, being an ACC All-American my last year, and I'm questioning myself. I signed a contract to go play in Cyprus, and Jay's a witness to this. I fly to Chicago before I'm literally about to get on the plane to go to Chicago to Cyprus. The team calls me and cancels my contract in Chicago. So I had to fly back home, and at that point, I kind of was just like, this is it for me. Remind you, this is the pandemic. You can't travel, you can't go out anywhere.
Right.
We're wearing masks all the time, so there's only but so much you can do. But, like I said earlier, when you have a great circle, people like, Jay, the guys, and, my parents who just keep motivating me. I ended up going to Estonia, having a great season, MVP season, and I get hurt. And when I get hurt, I shed a lot of tears, was questioning if I really wanted to continue to play basketball or not. And I came home and I had surgery, and the doctor told me I would be out 9 to 12 months. But luckily, like I said before, when you have a great circle and people around you who motivate you, it forces you to go harder. And I'm able to bounce back from this injury in 6 months. Got MVP of that league, the same league I played in the following year, and then I was able to pursue a summer league opportunity in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings that summer, and then finished up this past year in Germany. So that would be a story that I would tell people, no matter what happens, always continue to move forward, never give up on, whatever it is that you desire to do.
Wise words. Coach Jay, I saw you laughing. What are your memories from that time?
Mental.
Yeah.
Just, trying to help him through the process. It went from talking a couple times a week to every day. And I know I wasn't the only one that he was talking to. But just trying to be that support, trying to, telling him, like, I don't understand exactly where you at right now, but I get it. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes you may feel that way, especially the process of getting there and everything. And with Brandon, he carries a big chip. So, and just knowing him and just knowing how he is, just understanding that and being able to help him in that way. The benefit I have is, like, I train Brandon, I train Kiera, and I train Zion. So, I know all of their stories. And again, it's a lot of mental. Like, even all three have had injuries, and I've been there for all three of their injuries, And so just being there, being positive, even when I'm positive even when I know they're not trying to hear it. You still kind of just have to be that for them. And just being there to answer the phone. Like, for me, it's more than training. I get phone calls 10, 11 o'clock at night from players that I work with, and it's just listening. Yeah. A lot of times, just listening, and they know that I'll pick up. So it's bigger than, the basketball and the skill development is my conduit to kind of like help, and that's kind of like my ministry.
That's real.
Giving back.
That's real. All right, Zion, I got a question for you. Playing for the national team, what are some of the things that you had to do for yourself on the mental aspect? I'm sure you got to be in tip-top shape physically, but also mentally, to be on top of your game and to be playing against this high level of competition.
Well, I think, cause like I'm so young, last year I had to approach the game a different way. You can't just walk out there trying to play all these dudes that's, supposed to be lottery picks. You can't just walk out there just not being focused. You gotta it start before the game, even the day before the game. You gotta, you gotta just lock in. You can't just think it's about to be, walk in the park, cause them dudes, man, they did us so bad, man.
Sounds like you got to be locked in mentally,
yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank you, man. All right. Ms. Robertson, how does mental health impact athletic performance in your eyes? And what are some of the most common challenges you see from athletes that transition from the high school level on to the higher level?
I think it's going from high school, especially for me, I went from a high school that was 8-time state champions in volleyball, to a team that's like rebuilding the program. And so it's kind of like going from, well, I guess the transition to college is like you have to fight for your spot more.
Yes.
It's just you have to be like locked in at all times because anyone could just like swoop in and take your starting spot.
Sounds like a common theme here is mentally you just have to be locked in through whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through. All right, Ms. Coleman, you know, co-owning Headstrong obviously involves a deep commitment to mental wellness and resilience. Could you share the mission and vision of your company and what specific initiatives and programs you've implemented really to promote mental health, as it's really gotten bigger in sports. And I think, the common theme of what everybody is saying is a lot of the game on or off the court, wherever you play, is obviously mental.
Yeah. Our mission is really to help athletes achieve that mental toughness. Like our motto is develop mental toughness. Anytime we post is hashtag develop mental toughness. Our approach of how we do it is being able to help individuals reach their mental wellness. We know they train, they're practicing, their physical wellness for majority of the time is always good, but who's helping them mentally, emotionally, like they said, having to be locked in, the strains of starting spots, the strains of I'm good enough but coach not starting me, parent pressure, all of these things. So Headstrong was developed with that vision and mission of we're that support for them. We are the ones that they can come and talk to, that neutral, non-biased party that can just help you process your emotions, save space. And myself and Dr. Reba were both basketball moms and basketball wives. So we see it from all angles, the clinical angle, the mother angle, and the being on the bleachers angle too. Like I have 3 kids that play sports. I be in there mad too, but I gotta remind myself I am a therapist, I am a mom. I gotta take it from a different approach. But really it's helping them achieve that mental toughness and being able to be comfortable in the uncomfortable settings and vocalize those feelings, communicate those feelings.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. We're talking a lot about what athletes go through, but as somebody that wears those different hats, I guess, how do you distinguish and differentiate what needs to be done from wearing the hat of basketball mom, basketball wife, to to being licensed? How do you balance all of those, and what, I guess, advice would you offer parents, in these situations as well?
I think I have a great support to be able to balance that out. Like Brandon said, it's all about who your circle is. Being Jason Coleman's wife is a duty in itself, but it's always carrying myself professionally, always reminding myself of where my setting is. Like I'm really big on where am I at, how am I gonna act today, how I'm gonna behave, how do I have to carry myself, and I always carry myself with the utmost respect for myself professionally, but always knowing what impact am I leaving on anybody. So always being like, she's always professional, she's quiet, she's nurturing, so always applying that in everything that I do, whether I'm a therapist, which I've always had clients say, you genuinely care, you're listening, you're not trying to, what teenagers say, you're not trying to therapy me, even though I am, but it's a different approach. Same thing as a mom, being able to put that hat on and be like, okay, I'm a therapist and I know that teenagers have struggles, but being always able to apply your mom at this moment. So knowing how to shift, but still always applying that same genuine love, care, professionalism, and attention to my passion and what I do in every of those roles.
That's pretty good. We're gonna get more into the mental health side of this because that is obviously what we're here for. But Coach B, I really just want to jump into really quickly, coaching Isaiah Todd to the NBA G League, obviously a remarkable accomplishment. How do you tailor your coaching philosophy, and how does that translate to the kids that you have now when they see someone who's had success like that?
For the program, it just make it easier for the next player that came through. I can coach Zion because I coach Isaiah. The proof in the pudding. John Wall went here, C.J. Leslie. There's been so many kids prior to. They know it works. So it's pretty easy for the kids to fall in line. They trust me, but like Zion was saying earlier, it can get tough at times because our normal team, we're going to have probably 12 high school starters. So it could be, challenging within itself. But, coaching a kid like Isaiah, who was pretty much made before he got here, I actually think he did more for me than I did for him. Being a first-year high school basketball coach and being able to come in with a McDonald's All-American that was my best player and my hardest worker. So the team pretty much just fell in line. So my transition from college to high school was pretty good. Isaiah was a kid that was very focused, on what he wanted, so it was very easy to coach him. Coaching Zion Collins is way harder than coaching Isaiah Todd.
Coach, when you rattle those names off, obviously those are names that household names that people know around here. I guess how important is individualized coaching for developing players at the next level and those that want to see success going forward?
It's very important, but I tell majority of my kids, I'm going to coach them longer with the game of life than basketball. Most kids come through here 2 years, 3 years max, but, me and Zion just getting started. We've been together for about 2 years now. At best I get 2 more, but, he still got to get married. He still got to have kids, ups and downs. He can never
looking funny when you say get married.
Yeah, he gonna get married one day. One day.
You hear that? You're getting married one day.
But I'm gonna be continued coaching.
Absolutely. All right. Here, as a current overseas player, I'm sure you've seen some similarities in the game and also some differences. There are a lot of basketball players that are watching this right now. What would you say are some of the main similarities between basketball here in the United States, and what would you say are some of the biggest and most stark differences to you?
Oh, man. So I guess similarities would probably be the routine part. You never lose it. You build your routine, and you just keep it. What helps you get ready for the game mentally and on the court. And then the difference is, like I said before, your responsibilities change. Overseas, they just look for you to do everything. Everything. Wins are your fault. Losses are also your fault. Even if you score 30 plus, if you still lose, it's your fault. Just because you're an American, they brought you over there for a reason. And in the league, it's always more unified, kind of, because you don't have to play as big of a role as you would overseas.
And Brandon, I guess, the next thing transitioning from there is, but what you've done not only locally and nationally, you're obviously a role model to a lot of different kids, from the events, to the things that you put on, to, continuing to chase your dream. I guess, what is some advice you would give to young athletes who are striving to play professionally, whether it's internationally or right here at home?
The best advice I can give any young child right now that's pursuing their dreams to play professionally, you can't be afraid to fail. You're not going to accomplish, everything that you may put down on a piece of paper, and that's okay. Like, I'll give you an example. I wanted the training camp invite or some type of summer league when I got out of college because I knew the season I had was going to get me there. It didn't happen. The pandemic hit, and I didn't complain. I just worked. Years later, I got that opportunity. I took advantage of it. Did I get signed? No. I went overseas, and had a great year. And then, I don't want to say too much, but now that opportunity that I always wanted is finally there. So for me, just don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't do something, and don't be afraid to fail. It is okay. Like, if I don't ever put on an NBA jersey, I know I can live with myself, understanding I did everything in my power, sacrificing time away from my family, playing overseas, even in summer, not spending time with my family, going to the gym early in the morning, late at nights, knowing that I put everything in all the sacrifices to pursue this dream, and it is okay with that, and I can live with that.
Absolutely, that's real. I guess the next question, just as a follow-up, is I think a lot of kids out there think they're doing a lot to prepare themselves. And I see Coach Jay already shaking his head. So I guess how do you explain to them, or maybe best prepare them for the demands of what an actual career in basketball would look like?
Getting to the gym and putting up shots is probably, honestly, is 5% of it.
5%.
Everything else is the weight room, taking care of your body, eating right, drinking water, not going out as much, getting rest, understanding, like I said before, keeping a good amount of people around you in your circle to maintain your mental, right? Because if you mentally are, not well at this time, people don't understand a lot of injuries that athletes go through. A lot of that starts with the mental, and if you not being able to take care of your mental, the body responds to whatever goes through your mind, and if the mind is not there, then your body will react, and sometimes it could be in a good or negative way. And I'll give you an example. Yes, she always told me one time, when I was going through the injuries, your body was so used to going through chaos because of the injuries, you're struggling with that. And then now I reached the point where I'm finally playing at peace, where I'm not as angry playing out there. I'm not eager to yell at somebody. Like, I understand what's going on. Like, I'm okay. And now I enjoy the game of basketball better than I had before.
Yeah. Now, let me transition over to Zion as somebody that's, in it and doing it right now. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from playing alongside such a talented team and such a talented bunch? Just like Brandon was saying, you got to bring it every single day.
Well, I think from playing with all the players I have this past year, there's always more work to do. Like, you could get there, you could think you like one of the best, then you can meet some people, they'll show you like, nah, you got some more work to do. Like, it's different, but I think, I don't think I've worked hard enough in the past. I think now I understand that I have to work probably 5 times, 10 times harder than I have in the past, because I've been good, but to go where I want to go, I need to work 10 times harder.
Yeah, and Ms. Robertson, if you could just share what you think are some effective strategies that young athletes can incorporate, into their routines, I guess, to support themselves mentally. What do you think are some of those things?
I guess just, try to focus, on yourself. I guess you always kind of have to worry about, other people and, know that there's always someone better than you.
Yeah.
But you kind of also have to, think about yourself and think, okay, there's someone better than me, but I can work to be as good as them. So you just have to, be in the headspace to, protect your peace, but also, go after what you want.
Coach B, how important is that, knowing who you guys are facing, week in and week out? How important is it, as she just said, to get each individual kid not only to focus on what's best for the team, but focus on yourself and make sure you're doing the best that you can do so you can be starting, so you can contribute in the way that you want to?
It's challenging. For instance, we do better when we play 40-minute, 20-minute halves versus 8-minute quarters.
Wow.
We have a happy locker room when we score 95 points. When we score 60 points, it's a real sad locker room. It's challenging, but on a day-to-day basis, I keep informing my guys that that's why you came here. You came here for the challenge. You came here to compete, not on a day-to-day basis, but against the national schedule and the competition. And I like to get my guys geared up. The talent we play against, if we're not prepared, we can win every game we play, but we also can get embarrassed. So, it's challenging, but we tend to keep the kids, focused.
Coach, I've been talking a lot about your players, but your assistant coaches have also been flying through the ranks as well. I think that's pretty impressive. What do you think contributed to their success and recognition? I guess, how important is nurturing a coaching staff, when you get to this level, along with the student athletes?
First of all, we have the platform. We've been here for 30 years, but it's a personal goal of mine. I want to develop more coaches, you know, as players. Players always come through and get what they need, but it's been some phenomenal coaches and talent in the area. So, you know, this is going to be my last job. Coaching basketball is at Word of God. I don't have a desire to go anywhere else to coach, but I got a bunch of younger guys up under me. Every 2 years, I want to rotate coaches. You know, if they can get out in 1 year, it'd be great, but 2 years max, you come here, and then we'll get you off to Division I. It's personal to me.
Yeah, look, this area, obviously, basketball is king, and it's very special. Coach Jay, being a community pillar for the youth in this area, how do you engage with the local community to, you know, I guess provide support to younger athletes, you know, beyond basketball? Or, you know, what are some of the initiatives or some of the programs that are being implemented that positively help out the youth in this area?
I think, of course, Headstrong, this is the second year of doing this alumni event with Word of God. I think for me, it's just being visible. You know, I don't have to be a part of it, you know, but in the community, being visible for others' events, and just being a visible person that, you know, kids will see you on social media and anywhere else, or they see who you train or who you work with. And just so being visible so they can come up to you and not just talk to them, you know, about basketball, about whatever. You know, the youth is a passion of mine as well. I just use the basketball development, like I said, as a conduit to get to them. And even kids that don't play basketball or not playing high level and just, you know, want to have fun with it. I think just being visible in that awareness, and always, you know, being able to talk a joke with a kid or smile, you know, not being so, I'm just only going to talk to you about basketball, whatever the case may be. I think it's fostering those relationships, and again, like I said, just being out here in the community, whether it's my event or not. Most times I don't have a lot of events, but I'm gonna show up, and that's my way of supporting. And I can play the back though. I like playing the back when I can. It's kind of hard here because I've been here all my life, but just being visible and showing up in the community at events like these. There's numerous ones all the time, so just being there.
And I'll go straight to your wife. You talked about wearing multiple hats. How do you find the balance between the personal commitments, you know, and the professional commitments, along with your personal life? How do you find that balance?
That's a good question. First and foremost, I love what I do. That is my passion. So sometimes I have to remind myself, just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. Because I work 24/7.
Can you say that again? That was a bar right there. Can you say that again?
I know you can make me remember. Just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean you have to do it all the time.
Yes, I like that.
You know, being a therapist wasn't my initial thing. It was a calling. It was something that my professors at Central saw in me and were like, you have to do this. You're going to do this. We're going to apply for you if you don't do it. So for me, it's hard sometimes not to turn that off in every setting, whether it's being a listening ear, being there to support. I love what I do, but I've learned how to master to connect it all together. So I could be a wife, but still be my husband's therapist in a quote, like, do you need to talk? Do we need a vent? I could be a mom, but still be there for them. Most importantly, being part of this community and really trying to put myself out there. Just like Brandon said, I may not be his therapist directly, but if he needs to talk, he knows he can call and text. He knows she's gonna listen, she's gonna support. So I balance it all out by trying to happily incorporate all together. It just meshes so well that even though I may not be working, I'm still distributing my passion and my knowledge as best as I can.
Yeah, sounds like you love what you do and you're really good at what you do. So, Brandon, I guess, you know, the next question is, how can, just in your experiences, how can coaches and trainers and sports organizations create better environments that prioritize mental health and prioritize well-being for athletes?
For me, the best advice that I would give to anybody, especially in that business, is I know it's frustrating and I know it's stressful, not just dealing with kids, but the kids' parents or the kids' managers or whoever, how it is now. AAU is a different ballgame now. Stay true to the principles of what you stand on and always give more and expect less, right? Those are probably one of the best advices that I've gotten, especially from someone that's in that business. And because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's not about me anymore. I'm 25, right? My high school days are over. It's about, you know, the kids at Word of God, the kids that's at Southeast, the in-law. Like, it's about them now. And, you know, as they continue to develop and continue to grow and get older, keep passing down the knowledge that Jay or anyone else is giving me to pass it down to the youth. It's their time now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kiera, what are some of the values and principles that you know, can share with anybody watching this that have kind of guided you on your journey? I'm sure you've had to be very strong in these transitions.
Kind of like I mentioned earlier, just not letting anybody tell me who I can't be. I know when I was at University of Maryland before I transferred to NC State, and my scout was, she's not a shooter, she's a driver, back off, all that. So that was my scout. So, but when it was time for me to transfer, I went to NC State, and you know, people probably still thought I was the same player. So I gained a routine of just getting up 100 threes before every practice. No matter how tired I was going to do it. And by the time I graduated, I was invited to compete in the three-point contest with other college athletes. So it's just, you know, just having the mindset. Everything is an internal battle. Just be confident and know that you can be whoever you want to be.
How did you get to a place, you know, you just mentioned being tired. How do you get to a place where, you know, I have a regiment and I know I'm tired right now. I know I got class in a couple hours, but I'm still going to do this. How do you get to that point, and how do you stay at that point?
It's all about how good you want to be. I mean, if you really want it and you want to take it to the next level and show everybody, then you're going to put in the work. But I also have to have that balance off the court and not overdo it, you know?
Absolutely. All right, Coach Jay, I guess, you know, mentorship in all of this, and Brandon just mentioned, plays a crucial role in, you know, with the next generation. Could you share a specific success story? I'm sure you've got plenty of a young player you might have mentored, and I guess highlight their growth and achievements and the things that they went through, not only on the court, but some of the things that you saw off the court from them.
Just for the sake of, because we here, I mean, I keep it on. I really could do all three of them, but I keep it on Brandon, of just him being in a dark place, you know, and just getting those phone calls and kind of just, again, trying to be that reassurance that he needed. Again, like you said, he kind of really alluded to the story, but from my perspective, you know, he takes a lot of stuff personal. I tend to call him sensitive. He may not like that, but I tend to call him sensitive. But it's all about passionate. Okay, yeah, I give you that. Since we're on the panel, I give you that one, passionate. But just, you know, he's just a crazy competitor, which is, you know, it can be a gift and a curse. More so a gift. I think with everything in life that, you know, you need balance. And so just trying to help him balance that. I think a lot of times he may call me just because, you know, just to sometimes maybe check him or see, hey, man, am I tripping? And I tell him that. Like, he knows, like, the conversation to start off, like, yo, tell me if I'm tripping or not, you know, and if he's tripping, I tell him he's tripping. But just to see him get through that, I know he was doubted, you know, with his pedigree coming from, his dad played at the highest level. His dad is Hall of Fame. He went to the school, his dad's name is in the Raptors, and his dad was on the staff while he was there. And I kind of go through that a little bit with my son. So, like, we help each other, honestly. There's times when he tells me, like, yo, Juice needs you to be a dad. Not, you know, not training, not this and that. I do a good job, but he just has a different perspective because, you know, his dad played at the highest level, still involved in basketball. and just knowing that relationship. So we help each other. I think all my athletes kind of, you know, even with Zion and even with Kiera, they all kind of helped me and I helped them. But for him to go through all he went through, like I said, the story of being in Chicago, contract getting canceled, I got that phone call, probably before he called anybody else. You know what I'm saying? And then coming back and we going back to work. I'm thinking he gone, so he comes back and we work until he gets the next contract. And when he leaves, you know, handle your business. You know, keep the main thing the main thing. And when he got there, you know, being on FaceTime, going through his game film, telling him not to worry so much about the numbers, and then he like sweeps every award there. You know, he sweeps MVP of the playoffs, first team, scoring, wins the scoring thing, like top 5 in everything. To then coming back and getting with Sacramento Kings and not playing at all in Summer League. You know, so that's a letdown for after you coming off a season like that, coming back from injury. So like the ebbs and flow, not getting too high or too low through the whole process, because, you know, like I tell, not just basketball, but any sport, it's gonna let you down. Like that's just what come with it, you know. And like you said, fail. There's not really too much success without some failure at first. So just responding to that adversity.
That leads me over here to you, Zion. You know, being up here and being on this panel and, you know, being coached by Coach J, by Coach B, what are some of the aspirations that you have for your basketball career moving forward? Are there any specific milestones or achievements that you want to hit, you know, not only nationally here, but also internationally? What do you think some of those things are for you?
I don't really think too far down, you know. But right now, while I'm at Word of God, before I graduate, have you won the hoop state? He's never won a hoop state championship, so that's what I really want to do. We lost last year, but that's my main goal before I leave Word of God, to win one at least.
That is a worthwhile goal. All right, back over to Ms. Robertson. You know, are there any specific, I guess, warnings or signs or indicators that coaches or teammates or some support staff should look out for when it comes to mental health? I'm sure there are a lot of people that want to transition from the high school game, but it may be too much for them on the next level. Are there some things that coaches and teammates as well can maybe look for and see the signs?
I mean, every team I've ever been on, the coaches have kind of been oblivious to the mental health of the players. But like,
It's real, yeah.
honestly, like the teammates that I've had that have had like the worst mental health struggles are the ones who get like so frustrated that everyone's like kind of like, whoa, like what are you doing? I've had teammates like storm off the court after a game after they make one mistake. So it's like you kind of just have to look out for who's like the hardest on themselves and just like care for them, I guess, because they're probably dealing with the most in their head.
And that brings me to Ms. Jasmine Coleman. Mental health obviously has gained a significant amount of attention over the last few years. In your experience, what are some of the key mental health challenges that athletes, particularly young athletes, you know, face during their time? I'm sure, you know, there are plenty, but how can coaches, you know, and parents not be oblivious, as she said, to some of the things that people are going through?
I will kind of piggyback off what she said. A lot of the pressure that they apply on themselves, athletes, like the high expectations, the lack of balance in their life. Zion and Jasmine, they're still young. You can still have fun and do things. If it's just, like I said, if too much passion and there's no balance, that's going to be draining on your body emotionally. Like not having a balance will make you lose the love for the game. If you lose the love for the game, chaos, struggle, too much going on, anxiety, what's life going to look like? So really having that balance for it to be a love for the game, not a job or a duty. And there's so much pressure once you get to the high school level of you got to make it pro, you got to get a scholarship for college, you got to do this. And if there's no balance to that, or if coaches are not educating them, it's not just training or practice. Like Coach Jason and Coach B said, there has to be a coaching of life. What is life going to look like after you transition from high school? What is college going to look like? The workload, sleeping in a dorm, how are you going to balance the college party life and the reality of you're an adult now? What's it going to look like? Even the financial literacy of if you get NIL deals, if you get this contract, how are you going to balance the money? Because when you give an 18-year-old anything above 6 figures, the mind goes wild. How were they educated?
Give me 6
Anything
figures.
above
My
4
mind is
figures.
a wild right now.
Anything
That's right.
above 4 figures for
Yeah.
an 18-year-old.
But it's just, for them, it's the warning signs is, like she said, storming off the court, being super emotional, aggressive, not sleeping, not taking care of their body. A lot of it is the emotional balance of eating healthy, sleeping enough. Like, yeah, you can wake up at 5 a.m. and work out, but what time did you go to bed? Like, there has to be a balance. And I think coaches just need to pay attention to checking in with their athletes. Call them, text them, not about how they played, not about practice, not to yell at them because they missed the winning score or whatever. How are you doing today? How are you feeling today? Like, just genuinely, it's a genuine check. You see them more than your athlete. You see them as a human being with emotions and feelings. Being able to sometimes maybe focus your training session on a meditation session. Instead of practice, let's meditate, let's stretch, let's focus on the mindfulness. Am I hitting some points?
You hitting some points over here.
Giving them a safe space to talk. A practice can be about, let's talk, what's going on? How do y'all feel about that game? That game was huge. You know, what are we gonna do different? But not strategic about the sport, strategic about the mind, because it's all about mental toughness. And in order for them to have that balance and have that physical and emotional well-being, which is Headstrong's vision as well, they have to pay attention to that. It's being proactive, not reactive. That's the biggest thing. And parents, I'll answer that one. Allowing the children to be children. I think a parent and putting my AAU hat mom and sitting in the bleachers and seeing it, a lot of parents see their children as their ticket out. Oh, this my money bag. So they put too much pressure into children, or being a coach's wife, like, you should play my child more because they better than this, or you playing daddy ball. Like, so much is let the child be a child. Let them enjoy the game, let them play, yes, but invest in them too. You can't cut corners if you're trying to be pro, nor the parent, nor the child. It's a balance to it all. So being able to educate them, which is another piece of us too. We offer parent education, family therapy, like it's a wraparound thing. You have to have a good support system. Your support system has to be on the same page as you. That includes your coach, your trainer, your massage therapist, your parents, your girlfriend, all of that. Like, we joke with our son all the time, like, how you gonna balance having a girlfriend and playing? He's like, my girlfriend is the ball, the Spalding ball. But the reality of, like, you have to balance it all out. Like, is your girlfriend gonna understand that you may not text her right away because you're at practice or you're at training or you gotta wake up early or you gotta cancel your date because you got a game and the game's more, like, it's a big communication piece, but everybody has to be on the same page in order for that athlete to not be overwhelmed, and then you're anxious, and then you're stressed, and then you shut down. Like, that's real. There has to be a balance, but everybody has to be able to provide that balance and see the warning signs of it.
I want to touch on something you said briefly to the ones that are still playing and are still active. First of all, Jasmine, she mentioned being able to have fun, but also, not make it seem like a job. How do you keep that balance? I'll ask you first and then I'll go around. How do you kind of keep that balance of keeping things fun, knowing that, you're in college, you don't have to play, but how do you keep that balance of making sure you're still having fun?
I don't know, I just do. Like, I mean, I think I just, like, I'm very much, like, I like taking time for myself and I like being alone, and I make sure I take time for myself while also staying focused on, like, what I need to be focused on. And I try to, like, encourage my teammates to do the same thing, because if, like, all you're thinking about is your sport, then you're not really, like, living.
Zion, there are always expectations for a guy like you and the team that you're on. How do you keep the balance of having fun and not necessarily putting so much on your shoulders? This is still a game, still basketball, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really I don't really struggle with having fun and, basketball. Because, I mean, I don't know. I guess just, like, just being around my teammates. Like, with Word of God, like, we're always together every day, like, for months. So, I mean, we find ways to have fun. I mean, it's not really that hard.
To the ones that have played professionally on the edges, has there been a point where you stopped and said, this doesn't feel fun anymore. This kind of feels like a job. Or how do you balance, that between one and the other?
Absolutely. I definitely feel like at one point it's not fun anymore. But I think when you embrace it and understand that this is what I want for the next, decade of my life, and, you believe, and, everyone, has believe in different religions, but for me, every day, I just pray to the good Lord and just ask God to just allow me, whatever's destined for me, it's gonna happen. And I'm gonna just control the controllables and let you take care of everything else. So if it's meant for me for this to be my profession for the next decade or so, then that's what it is. If it's not, I don't know. Trust me, I don't know. So it made sense for me to continue to keep going and continue to share my knowledge of the game, not just on the court, but off the court. And it's the reason why I'm doing the things I'm doing now.
Kira, has it ever gotten to that point for you where the game that you love started to feel like a job, and how do you kind of balance that back out?
Yeah, absolutely. We're having an older brother that had a lot of the spotlight. He had a lot of early young success. He was a McDonald's American, Jordan Classic, Kobe Camp, KD Camp, all of this. So I had a lot of high expectations. So I put the pressure on myself. I'm like, hey, I need to get in the gym and I need to accomplish some of these goals. Whereas I had to understand that we're not the same person. And whereas he had a lot of early on success, I had a lot of back end success. So when I became a professional in college, that's when I started getting my recognition. And with working so hard as a young athlete, I started sustaining injuries. So I had to find a balance. I had to find that out. So just being around my family and, just finding time to travel and just see the world kind of helped me.
Coach, one of the things that parents feel like is their job, some of them anyway, is the recruiting process. You've had great success with kids in the recruiting process. I guess, how do you attract these athletes to this program, and what kind of qualities or attributes do you look for people that you are trying to send to that next level?
I think the platform we have here, it usually attracts the kids. Usually when I go to recruit a kid within the state of North Carolina, they're almost anticipating it. It wouldn't be foreign for me to pull up on a kid to recruit him to come to Word of God, because if anywhere from Wilmington to Greensboro, if you're really becoming elite, it's probably a thought, because all the successful players that they came through, Word of God, and what we're doing here works. So that's pretty much it.
Coach, I do want to get right back to you. How do you think athletes can develop a strong support system and, I guess, access appropriate mental health resources on their journey through something like this? Especially something on the high level that you all play on.
I think it's becoming more acceptable. The therapists are usually within the schools now, and even with athletes, they're not opposed to seeing a therapist. It started with Mental World Peace coming out and really seeking out a therapist, and so it's more common now, and it's something that should have been addressed, because if you're a high school kid from the hood, you done work your tail off and you about to leave the hood to go to Ohio State and you blow out your knee, can you imagine the mental aspect that comes with that? But now it's really being addressed now, even from like panels like this, organizations like Headstrong, and even the coaches in our coaching clinics. We actually talk about having team therapists and so forth and so on.
Ms. Goldman, I'm going to go right back to you on that. How, being someone who has been in this position that you're in for a while, do you see this as something that's becoming more accessible and more accepted in our community? And if so, why?
I definitely do. I see that it's marketed more. You have therapists working for NBA teams. Like, it definitely is something that's being accepted more. You have pro athletes coming out with their own stories of their mental illness and their struggles. And that's where the vision and the passion came for Headstrong. Like, Raleigh needs that, and we need, it's the hoop state, and there's so many athletes that need that. So bringing it in locally, supporting locally, being part of these events and stuff, because it is so accepted. So we should have it, and we should have that avenue and that open space for them to talk and collaborate with different local teams, coaches, Word of God, and all of that in order to increase the awareness even more outside of pro athletes and celebrities and all of that.
We're going to begin to wrap this up, but I just want to go, Brandon, to you as kind of a kicker towards the end. The same way I asked Coach, how, as an athlete, do you build that support system? Or how do you know who you can trust or who it's appropriate to go to? How do you kind of, I guess, flank that out from your perspective?
Well, you got to understand what's going on with your situation, and the best thing for me during those times is talking to someone that's been through the same situation or that's been through the same journey I went through. So, for an example, for my knee, my father had a knee injury, so he was perfect for me to someone that I could talk to and listen, right? Like, Yaz is someone that I can call, and I just need to just let out everything that I'm going through internally. And for me, you need that sometime. Like, and I tell, Jay about this, like, be a dad, don't be a coach at this moment, because I know how it feels to, when things are not going my way, maybe on the court, and I'm, going to my dad, and my father was my coach, and the criticism that I'm getting, it's like, yo, I need help, but you're in coach mode right now. That's not what I need at this particular moment. So being able to balance that and understand that, helps me out and just takes me a long way. So I would say talk to people that's been through this, not just go to people that's going to, tell you the things that you need to hear. Or you want to hear, excuse me.
Absolutely. Ms. Robertson, I think you said something that really, really stood out to me in your last answer. Was a lot of coaches are oblivious to some of the mental health challenges. We always see it the other way around, but what way do you see that sports and athletics can, help serve as a platform for promoting mental health awareness and being resilient? And how can athletes, I guess, utilize their platform to encourage a conversation and to normalize, mental health?
I think especially at high levels, people idolize professional athletes, and I think when they hear professional athletes' stories or even college athletes, they'll start to understand how they're feeling is normal, and there's ways to go about helping themselves feel better. And so I think it's just good for professional athletes to show everyone it's normal to feel these ways and they can get better.
Coach Jay, how have you encouraged your athletes that, it is normal and some of the struggles that you're going through, I can resonate with, and there are ways to move forward, and that all of this is not physical. As you said, there's only a small amount of this that is physical. How do you get them to realize that? I guess it's probably easier to the older athletes, but the younger is probably more challenging.
Again, being honest with them, sharing my experience or experience of other athletes that may be a little bit older in high school or college, for a middle school or high school athlete, sharing them a similar experience of an athlete that I may have already worked with, or a story that I may know of, maybe haven't worked with, but just know of a story for them to kind of just go look up and kind of just have a reference point sometimes of you're not the only one that's going through that. And just honestly, I do coach AAU, and I coach 6th grade, which is 12 and under. I usually start off with them just getting them to understand, hey, look, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to play a perfect game. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. right? It's how we respond to those mistakes, or, we keep pressing on. And that's just, it applies to life. It applies to life as well. So also always trying to correlate things that go on in sports to life as well. Because I think in all sports, there's aspects of it that's going to correlate to life. But just like I said, just getting the failure or the mistakes out of the way, and just understand that almost in every sport you play, there's percentages, and nobody's 100%. So there's no, you can strive for perfection. But just understanding, if you make a mistake or if you miss a shot, that's not the end of the world. And I think some kids are just struggle with that a lot, like just, missing a shot or wanting to let a team down, especially if you play a team sport, or making a turnover, or those things, and just understanding the bigger picture, and just, again, responding to that adversity that you're going to come into.
Absolutely, Coach. I think, and just as a final wrap up for you, I think, we've been talking about your athletes, we've been talking about your coaches, we've been talking about your parents. How do you take care of yourself mentally, and balance what you're balancing and everything that you have going on as a coach, for some coaches that may be watching?
It's really, really tough, but the excitement and joy that Jay hit it on earlier, it's a two-way street. As much as I point at them, the success stories come back. Jay, he have to continue to go on because Brandon overcame his knee injury. It's just like you point into somebody and then they end up pointing back into you. It keeps me young, keep me in shape. It's a two-way street. As much as I do for them, they probably do more for me. Yeah.
Zion, how do some of the things that you hear here influence you to want to keep going and, getting past your own personal battles?
Hearing Brandon, I feel like right now, because I'm, sort of under the weather right now, so I feel like I don't have enough time. But like, just hearing him say like, it's not always gonna go how you want it to go, and like you just gotta stay headstrong and just like, just keep working, just till your time comes. You know what I mean? So.
And Kiara, too. Last question for you as well. To you, as somebody that just said, you might have been a late bloomer to those that haven't gotten discovered yet, or may think they still have some untapped potential. What's a message going out for somebody like that?
Just keep working hard towards your goals. Set small personal goals, and once you achieve those, then just keep going and going until you ultimately get to where you want to be. Because the sky is unlimited for everybody, not just the people you look up to.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank each 7 of these panelists here today for joining us. I think this was a super important conversation. I want to plug really quick, Ms. Jasmine Coleman, where can the people find you that want or need services from you? Where can they reach out?
So our Instagram is Headstrong for Athletes. So definitely there. We have 2 websites because we have the business and then we have a nonprofit. So headstrongwellness.com and headstrongcommunities.com. And my work cell phone, 984-789-2502, is the one for all of the referrals and direct communication. So that is the way how you can contact us and schedule or have any further questions.
Mr. Childers, thank you very much. Ms. Coleman, Ms. Robertson. Mr. Coleman, thank you very much. Coach, I really appreciate it. Zion, thank you for being here. And Ms. Kiara Leslie, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching. I am Trayvon Miles, and we'll see you next time.